Most men will not hear this truth until it costs them years of their life. So listen carefully. You have been taught that you must chase, impress, prove, and perform just to be worthy of a woman's attention. That you are lucky if she chooses you. That you should be grateful for even a little interest. And because of that belief, millions of men walk into relationships already feeling smaller than the person standing in front of them. That mindset quietly destroys attraction, not because women are cruel, but because attraction is built on strength, confidence, and self-respect. And when a man doesn't see his own value, neither will anyone else. Here is the truth most people are afraid to say out loud. You are not here to beg for love. You are here to build a life that makes love want to join you. A man who is calm, focused, disciplined, and moving towards something meaningful is rare. And rare things carry value. When you invest in your purpose, your body, your mindset, and your future, you become someone people feel drawn to, not because you are trying to impress, but because your presence speaks for you. The problem today is not that men are weak. It's that men have been trained to forget their strength. In this video, we're going to expose how that happened, how it shows up in your relationships, and how to take your power back without becoming cold, arrogant, or disconnected. Because when you stop chasing approval and start standing in your worth, everything changes. Most men don't realize when they lost their power. It didn't happen in one moment. It happened slowly, through small compromises, emotional habits, and quiet fears of being replaced. At the beginning of a relationship, a man is usually confident. He has his own routine, his goals, his independence. But once he becomes emotionally invested, something shifts. He starts adjusting his life around her moods. He overthinks every message. He worries about saying the wrong thing. He tries harder and harder to keep her interested. That's when the balance breaks. Power in a relationship is not about control. It's about emotional stability. The person who is less afraid to lose the relationship naturally holds more influence, not because they care less, but because they are not desperate for validation. When a man's happiness depends on how a woman treats him, he hands her the emotional steering wheel. And most men do this without realizing it. They start apologizing too much. They stop expressing their real opinions. They ignore their boundaries just to keep the peace. The woman doesn't wake up wanting to lead. But when she senses that the man is emotionally unstable or unsure of himself, she unconsciously steps into that role. And attraction fades. Women are drawn to men who are grounded in themselves. Men who can care deeply without losing their center. Men who don't need constant reassurance to feel secure. The moment you stop being anchored in your own life and start orbiting hers, the dynamic shifts, and not in your favor. When you regain emotional balance, you regain attraction. Most men have been conditioned to believe that if they do not chase a woman, they will lose her. So they text first, give more, try harder, and move faster, all in the hope of being chosen. But what they don't realize is that chasing quietly tells a woman one powerful message: I need you to feel valuable. And that message changes everything. When you chase, you give up your position. You place her above you in the emotional hierarchy. You turn her into the prize and yourself into the one trying to earn it. That may look romantic in movies, but in real life, it creates imbalance, anxiety, and eventually a loss of attraction. Choosing is different. A man who chooses is calm. He notices a woman's beauty, but he is not controlled by it. He enjoys her presence, but he is not dependent on it. He is not rushing to impress. He is observing. He is asking himself, does this woman fit into my life, my values, and my future? That energy is powerful. Think about two men meeting the same woman. One immediately gives her all his attention, compliments her nonstop, and rearranges his schedule to see her. The other stays relaxed. He enjoys the moment. He speaks with confidence. He doesn't rush to prove anything. Which man creates curiosity? Which one feels more attractive? The second man is not playing games. He simply has a life that matters to him. Women don't want to be a man's purpose. They want to be invited into a purpose that already exists. When you stop chasing and start choosing, the power shifts back to you. You no longer act from fear of losing her. You act from confidence in who you are, and that changes everything. One of the biggest mistakes men make in dating is confusing attention with emotional commitment. Just because a woman texts you, flirts with you, laughs at your jokes, or enjoys your company does not mean she is emotionally invested in you. Attention is easy to give. Love is not. Some women enjoy being desired. They like knowing someone is thinking about them, chasing them, and prioritizing them. That doesn't make them bad people, but it does mean their attention is not the same as their heart. This is how many men get trapped. She replies quickly at first. She seems excited. She opens up emotionally. You feel a connection. Then suddenly she becomes distant. Messages slow down. Plans get vague. You're left wondering what changed. And instead of stepping back, you try harder. You give more. You hope that if you just show enough interest, she'll come back. But what you're really chasing is the feeling she gave you, not the relationship you thought you had. A woman who truly values you will not make you live in confusion. She will show up with consistency. She will make time for you. She will invest even when it's not convenient. Attention is loud in the beginning. Commitment is quiet but steady. If a woman only shows interest when you are giving her attention, but disappears when you focus on your own life, that is not love. That is emotional convenience. So stop measuring how much she likes you by how often she texts you or how sweet she sounds. Measure it by how she shows up when you are not chasing her. When you demand consistency instead of crumbs, you stop getting stuck in situations that never had a future. No man begins a relationship by begging. It starts with confidence, interest, curiosity. But when uncertainty appears, many men panic. A reply comes late, her energy changes, and suddenly, instead of standing still, he starts reaching. He texts more. He explains himself too much. He asks for reassurance. He tries to fix something that hasn't even been clearly broken. This is where attraction begins to fade. Begging is not about words. It's about energy. When you beg for attention, affection, or clarity, you silently communicate that your emotional state depends on her response. And when a woman feels that responsibility, desire turns into pressure. No one is attracted to pressure. A man who knows his value does not need to chase emotional crumbs. He expresses himself clearly once, sets a standard, and watches what happens next. If that standard is not met, he doesn't argue. He doesn't plead. He simply steps back. That calm detachment is powerful. The moment you start begging, you place her in control of your self-worth. She no longer has to invest. She no longer has to show up consistently. She knows you'll stay no matter how little she gives, and that destroys respect. Respect is the foundation of attraction. You were valuable before she entered your life. You will still be valuable if she leaves. When you remember that, you stop overgiving. You stop over-explaining. You stop tolerating emotional imbalance. Walking away with dignity is more attractive than staying and begging for what should have been given freely. One of the most attractive qualities a man can have is emotional stability. Not because he doesn't feel, but because his feelings don't control him. Too many men today are emotionally reactive. One delayed message can throw them off balance. One change in tone can send them into overthinking. One disagreement can turn into anxiety or frustration. And while that might feel human, it does not feel safe to a woman. Women are drawn to men who remain calm under pressure. A man who can pause, think, and respond with clarity creates emotional security. He doesn't rush to explain himself. He doesn't argue to protect his ego. He doesn't collapse when things feel uncertain. He stays grounded. That steadiness is powerful. Emotional control does not mean being cold or distant. It means having the discipline to not let fear, jealousy, or insecurity dictate your actions. It means being able to hear something you don't like without losing your center. When a woman sees that you are not easily shaken, she begins to trust you more. And trust is the doorway to attraction. A man who is constantly seeking reassurance feels like a responsibility. A man who is confident in himself feels like a leader. You don't need to be perfect. You need to be steady. The more you build your life, your goals, your health, your purpose, the less you depend on emotional reactions from others. And the less you depend on them, the more attractive you become. Because a man who controls his emotions cannot be controlled by them. Many men misunderstand a woman's challenges, moods, or moments of distance. They take it as rejection or disrespect, but very often it is something else entirely. It is a test, not a planned test, not something done with bad intentions, but a natural, instinctive way of asking a simple question. Is this man strong enough to lead? When a woman feels emotionally involved, she wants to know if the man in front of her is stable, confident, and grounded. So she might pull back slightly. She might disagree. She might observe how you react when things don't go perfectly. She is watching your emotional response. Do you panic? Do you chase? Do you become insecure? Or do you stay calm and steady? Men who react emotionally fail the test. They try to please. They apologize for things they didn't do. They lose their frame. And when that happens, attraction slowly fades, not because the woman is cruel, but because her instincts no longer feel safe. A woman does not want to lead the relationship. She wants to trust the man she is with. And trust comes from consistency, not from emotional reactions. When you hold your ground, when you stay respectful but firm, when you do not collapse under pressure, you send a powerful signal. I am stable. You can relax here. And when she feels that, she stops testing. She starts trusting. That is when connection deepens. Being the prize is not about ego, arrogance, or thinking you are better than anyone else. It is about self-respect. It is about knowing that you bring something valuable into a relationship. A man becomes the prize when he has built himself, when he has goals, when he has discipline, when he has emotional stability, when he has standards, when he can walk away from disrespect without anger or drama. That man is rare, and rare things are valuable. Most men are so focused on trying to be chosen that they forget they also have the right to choose. They stay in situations that drain them. They tolerate inconsistency. They accept less than they deserve because they are afraid of being alone. But a man who knows his worth does not stay where he is not respected. He does not chase people who are unsure about him. He does not beg for attention. He does not build his identity around someone else's approval. He stands in who he is. And when you move like that, something changes. People feel it. Women feel it. Your energy becomes calm, focused, and grounded. You no longer seek validation, you attract it. This is not about dominating anyone. It is about being rooted in yourself. When you respect your time, your values, and your future, the right people begin to respect you too. Everything you've heard in this video comes down to one simple truth. You don't attract by chasing. You attract by becoming. When you build yourself, your mindset, your discipline, your purpose, your boundaries, you stop needing anyone to complete you. And that is when relationships become healthy, balanced, and powerful. Too many men have lost themselves trying to keep someone else interested. They gave more than they received. They stayed when they should have walked away. And deep down, they knew it. If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. So I want to hear from you. Have you ever been in a situation where you chased, begged, or lost yourself trying to hold on to someone? Share your story in the comments. This is not about shame. It's about awareness and growth. We learn from each other. And if this message resonated with you, stay connected. This channel is about helping men rise, not by becoming cold or angry, but by becoming strong, disciplined, and self-respecting. Because when you live with purpose and peace, you don't have to prove your worth. People feel it, and the right ones will choose you.